I'm Sage. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a second-year med student and an OMM TA. Recently, I asked the first years at my school to take a survey. It was anonymous. I just asked them to write down any questions about OMM that they had that they might have been like too embarrassed or too shy to ask. I know sometimes as med students we feel a lot of pressure to know everything the first time we hear it and understand everything the first time it's told to us. But the reality is most of us don't, right? There are things that will come easier to you and things that will be more difficult for you, and that's okay. But I just want to make sure all the questions get answered at the end of the day. So one of the first questions I had said, I really don't feel the different tissue texture changes. If you gave me a boggy muscle and a ropey muscle and a hypertonic muscle, I don't think I'd be able to differentiate them. Maybe it's because we never feel anything besides what's on our partners, so most likely they won't have everything. But I really don't understand what the different tissue texture changes are supposed to feel like. So I want to highlight a really good point that this question made, which is that you're right, not everybody has every dysfunction, and that's important to keep in mind when you're learning OMM. If you get the chance to practice on other bodies, that's great because they might have something different and that might broaden your horizons. But, you know, on the other hand, most people have at least some sort of somatic dysfunction, and a lot of people have an acute dysfunction. I would say pretty much almost everybody has an acute dysfunction. So today what I'd just like to do is make a short video going over the muscles, what they feel like. When, I don't know, a while ago, I heard this tip for cooking steak where if you touch the pads of your index and thumb together, and you feel this here, that's what like a rare steak feels like, so you don't have to cut it open while you're cooking it, versus if you touch the pads of your pinky and your thumb, that's what a well-done steak feels like. And I'm pressing here on my thenar eminence, which is like these muscles at the base of your thumb. So although I learned this tip in the context of cooking steak, I think it's a really good tip for learning OMM, learning how to palpate the different muscles and like what they should feel like. So to help you apply that and to help answer this question, I think we'll start today by touching the pads of our middle finger and our thumb together. So if you're touching here, and I want to show you like when I palpate, I like to use different fingers or palpate in circles, or maybe back and forth, you know, whatever works for you to get a good idea of what's going on with the muscle. And when you're pinching your fingers, you don't need to like be pinching them super hard. Just make sure that the pads are touching. So for today, we'll assume that this is our normal muscle. And I'll notice that if I just push straight down, you know, I meet some resistance at some point, but when I sink in, it sort of feels like, I don't know, like a down pillow. It's soft, and then eventually it gets firm. Sorry, my dog is squeaking a toy. But, you know, and let's say for today that this is our normal. Keep in mind that everybody's normal is different. You know, somebody who's in the gym weightlifting 7 days a week, they're going to feel a lot different than someone like me who's a total couch potato and never stops studying in time to get to the gym. So that's just our normal. Hopefully by now you've had a chance to feel it and get an idea of what's going on. Now what I'd like you to do is get yourself a hypertonic muscle. So if you touch the pad of your pinky and your thumb together like this, again, don't press too hard, but make sure the pads are making good solid contact. Now you feel when you try to press down, my fingers are meeting resistance a lot sooner and they're meeting a lot more resistance. And instead of feeling like a pillow, this feels more like if you've ever gotten some clothes in a package and the company tried to put way too many clothes in the package so that your fingers sink in a little bit because the material's like cotton, but they don't sink that much, that's what this feels like to me. Maybe that's not a good example. Maybe I'm just a shopaholic, but oh well. So that's what this feels like. If you were correlating this on someone, you would also expect to find a positive red reflex. So if you went like this, the skin would be red after a few seconds. The tissue would probably be warm, and the patient would probably say that they're tender. So as I'm feeling this here, you know, the patient might say, ooh, like that hurts, or they might wince. Keep in mind that they're not always going to verbally state that something hurts, but if you watch their body language, they might tense up. Like I said, they might wince or grimace. Those are all things to keep in mind, okay? And this would be indicative of an acute somatic dysfunction. So that's what we're feeling here. Again, compared to this is our normal reference. So the last thing I want to show you quickly today is what a boggy muscle would feel like. So if you just open up your hand and don't like stretch it super wide, just open it, relax, and then you feel this. That's what a boggy muscle would feel like. So feel how you can sink your fingers. I feel like I can sink my fingers in all the way, almost so that I can feel my thumb on the other side of my hand. So feel how there's no resistance here, how this muscle feels almost flabby now compared to our normal. This is what a chronic somatic dysfunction might feel like, or a boggy tissue, a boggy muscle. On red reflex, what you would expect is that the tissue would blanch, so it would turn white. You might feel that the temperature would be cool. And actually, even though this is a somatic dysfunction, it probably won't be tender to the patient because it's been going on for so long that those pain receptors have just sort of become desensitized. They're not really triggered by you just doing this palpation on the back. So that's it. I hope that was helpful to you guys. If you have any other questions as a first year at my school, please submit them to me. I'm going to be trying to make these really short videos just to help you guys get those basics down. I hope you study hard. I hope you do well. Good luck.